Super Tuesday live today on this very special Tuesday. Got a great show today talking Star Wars, DCU, the new DCU, specifically Blue Beetle, and I guess some Peacemaker as well. And Avatar, Andrew's favorite Avatar, is going to make his play. He's joining me right now. That's Andrew Fantasia right there. Andrew's joining me. Andrew, what's up?
Hey, I just had dinner not too long ago and I bit my tongue while I was eating and I still taste blood in my mouth. What's up, everybody?
It's funny. I'm also tasting blood. I was juggling for my 9-month-old daughter who thought juggling was hilarious and even funnier when you drop the pieces. And I got a little bit excited doing it, and I threw a block on my face and I split the inside of my lip open and I was bleeding, which she found even funnier because my daughter is cute but evil. That's what I'll say. Cute but evil. She was laughing hysterically at me in great pain. So our song ended. This Super Tuesday, as I said, we like to talk all things super on this very special day. Why not? So a big day today. I did not see this day coming. Everything on the planet was delayed. Like every movie has been delayed except Star Wars. Star Wars, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but is overseen by Kathleen Kennedy, who came out and said that she always looked at Bond as like, how Bond took their time with movies every 3 years or whatever, which is what Star Wars did for the first 6 movies. But now it's getting a little nuts. So let's get right into it. Let's not waste any time, Andrew. Let's get right into Star Wars on this Super Tuesday. Kathleen Kennedy comes out, or I guess she didn't. I don't know where this all came from, actually. I saw it on Bespin Bulletin, a fantastic site, Bespin Bulletin. But apparently, we're getting a movie in 2025, and we're getting a movie in 2026, and we're getting another movie in 2026, and then we're getting a movie in 2027. And I look at this, and 2 things come to mind. 1, I don't believe any of it. And 2, why 2 movies in the same year? They did that with Solo, and Solo bombed horrific for Star Wars. It bombed horrifically and look, you can be like, well, it made this much money. Okay. And you know what? Let's take the reshoot costs out of this. Let's take all that out of it and just look at it based on numbers. You need Star Wars to make $1 billion. That's what they need. And they made like $400 million. It didn't even get halfway to what they needed to make. So I don't know. I saw this today and I scoffed immediately at it, and I didn't like it. I still don't like it, but I want to hear what you have to say, Andrew.
I saw it today after kind of navigating Twitter and seeing a lot of shocked responses. And I'm like, okay, God, now what's happening? And I read the article, the Variety article, and, it makes a big deal of just showing you all the dates. Such and such is moved to this date, and so is bumped back to this date. And it's mostly Marvel stuff that's gotten delayed. And I think we can get used to that or rather we should be used to it by now, because that happened the first time when they did Phase 4 and they showed us, here's what Phase 4 is. All of that stuff was delayed, right? COVID and other things, right? So we're used to the delaying process. What I didn't like was the fact, at least this particular article that I read, the Variety one, it's just saying the dates, but we have to read between the lines here. This is all happening because they're still not paying writers their due. That's why all these delays are going to take place, or at least most of them, because they can't write these movies until something gets settled with the WGA. And for Disney to just come out and say, here's the new dates for all these things, blah, 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 and to throw some Star Wars in front and say, yeah, that's coming, don't worry about that, even though Avatar is getting a year delay and now it's going to be super, super delayed, whatever, and Marvel is all over the place. Here's some Star Wars. It feels kind of dirty because they're burying the lead, which is, and in fact, they're not even just burying the lead, they're pretending the lead doesn't even exist. And the lead is, we're too greedy to pay our writers what they're owed, so we have to delay these movies we promised you. So that kind of ticks me off a little bit.
I'm going to go a different route on this because I do agree though. You know what? It's not even like the paying so much. Is AI is freaky AF. Like it's very scary. AI for me is scary. I can only imagine what it's like for a Hollywood writer who's like, your job is going to be obsolete because we can get AI to write a BS script and then hire some, fresh out of high school wannabe writer to touch it up and make it seem like a human wrote it. Like that's where we're heading. And if you want half the movies I watch, especially streaming movies, they pretty much, I think they are written by AI. Like Netflix is chomping at the bit for AI because everything Netflix does is all like that anyway, right? It's all algorithm based. All the BS you watch on Netflix is like, well, this actor's in it and this person's directing it and this person's going to do the music because you liked Peppa Pig. That's how Netflix works.
Yeah.
So that's what scares me about it. But for me, with the Star Wars of it all, I don't understand what they're doing because they have this Daisy Ridley led one that was Damon Lindelof, but might not have been, but now it's not at all, and it's Stephen Knight doing it, which is fine. But is he not part of the writer guild? Maybe he's not part of the writers guild. I don't know, but you'd think he would still take a stand and be like, I can't do this out of like I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Then you have James Mangold, who apparently the word like yesterday was, if the writer's strike is done by the fall, he'll start writing his Star Wars movie in the fall, or maybe that was Swamp Thing. But I feel like he hasn't written his yet. Filoni hasn't written his, for all we know. They're working on Mandalorian season 4, unless it's kind of like connected and they're doing them side by side, which is possible. But I don't think that's done. Then you've got Taika Waititi, who's like, I can't figure out the middle, and Kathleen Kennedy saying he can't figure out the end. Sounds like they can't figure out the movie. You got Kevin Feige, who my time to shine hello on Twitter, is now saying that his movie's not dead, and apparently Mary Jade's in it. Take that with a grain of salt. So, but who knows what this fourth movie is? I'm sure that's the one they're going to dump in May. Because I like, we talked about this on Rebel Scum podcast a few weeks ago. I had this idea. It wasn't not my idea, nothing great like that. But like my thought for the 3 movies they announced at Celebration was a new way of doing a Star Wars trilogy, where you do like the after, like the Skywalker stuff, but post, right? The future stuff. You do the present stuff with Filoni. We'll call that present stuff, and then you do the prequel stuff with Mangold, right? You do the Christmas Carol of it all, and that's kind of the new way to do it, where they're not connected, but they are, because they're Star Wars and little details will be around. But it's a new way of doing it, and it kind of saves you from having to worry about a sequel to this, a sequel to that, them connecting. The Rian Johnson, J.J. Abrams effect of it. You can kind of do 3 separate stories from 3 separate filmmakers the way they want to do it. That's how I do it. This tells me that it's not going to be even close. They're going to be 3 random movies that have nothing to do with anything. One of them probably won't even like Star Wars. That's the other thing I'm trying to think, is one of the people making these movies doesn't even like Star Wars. I don't know who it is, but that's going to come out and they're going to say something that people are going to rant on. That's my rant, though. I don't like that they're just throwing these movies out. Don't have finished scripts. You've burned us before. Like DC burned us so many times. We're getting a Flash movie 9 years after, or 10 years after they announced a Flash movie. It was announced. The TV show and the movie were announced on the same day. The TV show is now ended, and the Flash movie is coming out. So, like Star Wars, and now that James Gunn and Peter Safran are in charge of DC, which we'll talk about in a little bit, Star Wars is now less credible than DC. I don't trust it. I don't believe in it. And I don't want to see these stupid announcements. Announce one movie. Give me one good Star Wars movie. Because until you know why you're making your Star Wars movies, I'm not interested in release dates.
No, neither. And if they didn't, I think we're pretty sure they didn't have finished scripts by the time Celebration rolled around. Because Kathleen even said it was super early days. So if they didn't have a finished script by then, I doubt, it's possible, but I doubt they had finished scripts by the time the writer's strike began. So there's a void ahead of Hollywood right now where they're stuck and they can't do anything until they get off their greedy asses and fix the situation. And all of these studios are now staring down into this void, and that void is full of the voices of the people saying, we can't wait for this, we can't wait for that, and they have to give some kind of response to that. And that's what I feel like this was. And it makes me kind of sad and kind of sick that this was just here's dates and here's new dates for new things to try to shut you up for a while, so that we don't have to talk about the fact that we're not giving our writers fair wages.
You know, they did that 11 years ago when Disney bought Lucasfilm. They gave us a May 2015. It got pushed to December, but May 2015, you're going to get episode 7. And we were like, perfect. But it was episode 7. They knew what it was. Ultimately, I don't think they really did, but they knew what it was, right? It was episode 7. It's going to follow these characters, blah, whatever, like blah, blah. Now it's like, well, what is this one? What is, if it's the Daisy Ridley one, if it's the Rey Skywalker one, then tell me, just tell me like this is the one, because I just feel like they have this false plan, and I'm not going to, and honestly, I think this is Bob Iger. I don't think this is Kathleen Kennedy, who everybody hates. I think this is above. I think this is coming from above, because they're like, you have to do a movie every year again, probably because you're wasting too much money on Disney Plus or something. It's like, you've got to do too much. You've got to make a movie a year, and 1 year we want 2, because the Mandoverse doesn't count as a movie. You make it on TV. And I think, honestly, I do think that when Kathleen Kennedy said she looked at Bond and they wanted to do one every 3 years, I think she was being sincere in that. And I think this is coming from above her. And I think her job is probably on the line at this point. And she's like, well, I got to do what my boss tells me. Well, we all do, right? What the boss says to do, you do. And that's where I think this is coming from. I don't think this is anything to do with her or the creative team of Star Wars. I think their hands are tied right now and they're forced into this nonsense.
And it's a shame, because
we love Star Wars.
We do love Star Wars for the most part. I mean, I hate Attack of the Clones. That's
people don't know that that's your favorite movie.
For people who don't know me, that's sarcasm. I love Attack of the Clones so much. But remember that beautiful game plan, and I don't even know when this game plan was put forth, but that beautiful game plan they had where they were like, hey, for the 2020s, or at least for a big chunk of the 2020s, we want to have a Star Wars, and then next year an Avatar, and then a Star Wars, and then an Avatar. That sounded so beautiful to me. That sounded like a great way to keep both of those franchises feeling like events, like special events, and giving us just a big, giant, fun film to look forward to every December.
Definitely.
And now it's not happening. It's exhausting, man. It's exhausting trying to get excited for these things anymore. It really is.
It totally is. And it's unfortunate, because we should be excited, especially for Star Wars. Like, we should be like, the new movie, there's 4 new movies coming out. But it's like they just feel empty at this point. Like, I don't care. I'm actually more excited about your TV shows, because I know they're coming. I know we're getting them. And that's anyway.
Before we move on, I'm going to share a very quick story, a high school story. There's a guy that I met one time in high school. I don't even remember his name, but he is literally a microcosm parallel of what Disney has been doing this whole time. We were going to see X-Men 2. It was the night X-Men 2 came out, and my friends and I were going to go see it. And we bumped into this guy at Pizza before the movie. And he was this very excited, rambunctious guy. And he was just like, hey, after the movie, you got to come over to my buddy's house, man. He's having a party. There's going to be so many hot girls at this party, man. Trust me, man. It's going to be full of girls. And I'm like, first of all, I don't know who you are, dude. And second of all, I'm pretty sure there's not going to be the amount of, quote, hot girls at this party that you're claiming there are. And then when we get into the movie theater and we're waiting for the movie to start, again, this guy, he's sitting with us. This was before assigned seating, right? So he just latched onto us, started sitting near us. And he's like, man, this is going to be good, but you know what I can't wait for? I can't wait for X-Men 3, man. You know why? Because it's going to have Gambit. Gambit's going to be in X-Men 3, man. It's going to be so good. I'm just like, okay, man, whatever you say. So hearing all this just reminds me of that guy, wherever he is. I hope he's doing okay.
Boy, was he wrong about X-Men 3.
I wonder if he's probably still sitting in that theater telling people Gambit's coming. Gambit's coming.
How have we not gotten Gambit? Remember Channing Tatum was going to be Gambit at one point?
Yeah.
Oh, no, Gambit was in the X-Men Origins Wolverine. We did get Gambit in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Gambit in air quotes wasn't that movie.
Yeah, well, yeah. But it's funny because Laura Schuler Donner, the producer of the X-Men movies, said the reason why Gambit wasn't in the X-Men movies was because Gambit was too similar to Wolverine. And that's why they didn't use Gambit. That's
Okay.
that's absolutely true. Okay, let's go on to. We're going to do our segment called Hulk Smash and Hulk's Pass. I changed it on you before you even know it, Andrew. Earlier today, I read on Twitter, which everything is factual on Twitter.
Oh yeah, that's the encyclopedia Twitter.
Yeah,
Yes,
it is. Yeah, but Harrison Ford was asked, I think, if he would be playing Red Hulk in Thunderbolts, and something about Red Hulk, and his response was, "What the hell is a Red Hulk?" Which is classic Harrison Ford. So Hulk Smash or Hulk Pass, Harrison Ford not knowing about Red Hulk, which means maybe there is no Red Hulk in the movie, or in the script he's called something else like Angry Ross.
Angry Ross.
Angry Ross.
Oh boy, Angry Ross sounds like the name of like a painter who comes and paints your house, but he's really surly.
I really liked William Hurt in that role, and I really like William Hurt as an actor. It's unfortunate that he passed away too early. Anyway.
It is. It really is. William Hurt always reminds me of The Day I Met You, because The Village had just come out, and as we were driving to your aunt's house to film Chestnuts, we were talking about The Village, and you were talking about William Hurt and how it was weird hearing him talk like a pioneer man.
He's Lost in Space. If you haven't seen 1998, 7, 8, whatever night, Lost in Space with Gary Oldman, William Hurt, Mimi Rogers, Heather Graham, Lacey Chabert, and a robot, and Matt LeBlanc, you are missing out. Gotta watch. Have you watched it, Andrew, Lost in Space?
No, I've seen like parts of it though.
All right. Hulk Smash, Hulk Pass, Lost in Space. Hulk Smash or Hulk Pass. Harrison Ford not knowing what Red Hulk is.
I'm gonna Hulk. This is tough. It's just the wording of it is tough. I'm gonna say Hulk Pass. I think he knows exactly what's up, but he just doesn't really care, because that's Harrison, and we should know that by now, right?
It's almost like if he admits to knowing it, he has to talk about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure they told him, all right, Harrison, we're going to put some dots on your face, and then basically you're going to be an evil Hulk, and you're going to fight regular good Hulk for a bit. Whatever you say, just get the dots over with. Let's go.
Where's my paycheck?
So he's just saying what he's supposed to say. It's classic Marvel actor deflection, but what's clever about it is he's doing it in his own Harrison way. He's not being coy and being like, "You'll have to wait and see." He's just being himself, which is the perfect way to hide it.
Yeah, I'm gonna smash it because good on him. Who cares? Who cares what a Red Hulk is? You know what? He's not the only one that thinks that. 90% of the people that are going in to go see that movie don't know what Red Hulk are either. Smash. Smash is the good version. Smash is good. Pass is bad.
I thought it was like, do you believe him? Yes or no kind of question.
Smash is good. Pass is bad. Because pass is like pass. I don't like that.
Okay, so Smash as well. I like it. Yeah. I like it. I don't believe him, but I like it.
I don't either, but yeah, I'm gonna smash that because good on him. It's good. All right, let's move on to our second topic of the day: the Avatar sequels. They've been delayed. Andrew, I'm not an Avatar guy. I flat out say that. I don't agree with you that you like it. I don't think you should like it because I don't. And we live in a day and age where if I don't like something and you like something, you're wrong.
Right.
And I'm gonna call you a bigot because you are a bigot for liking Avatar.
I'm a woke bigot, James.
You're a woke bigot. Look, Avatar's not my thing. But I also don't get offended when you love Avatar and you're like, I'm gonna go see Avatar. Like it doesn't offend me, and I don't want to offend you by not liking it. But we're gonna talk about it because the sequels were delayed, and again, the writer's strike probably paid. But I thought they were shooting the third one. That's what gets me about this, is I thought they were shooting it, but they're delayed. So we got 2025. I think the last one's coming out in like 2031. So I will be like halfway through my 50th year on Earth when that movie comes out. Probably still won't go see it unless, in 10 years, I may have a change of heart by then. Who knows? But you as the big Avatar fan, I just want to hear your thoughts on the delays.
The delays bum me out. I'm not gonna lie. Part 3 was supposed to come out in 2024. Supposed to be a 2-year gap. And now that has turned into a 3-year gap. So that's a little bit of a shame. As it stands right now, the dates are 2025 for Avatar 3, 2029, which is so far away, for Avatar 4, and then 2031 for Avatar 5. That is kind of preposterous just to think about, the fact that that is being bumped that far back. You're right. I also thought they were filming part 3 as we speak, because, like I said, the deal was it was supposed to come out Christmas 2024. So, this would be the time to be filming it. I can't pretend like I know why this is happening. This might not be a writer's thing when it comes to Avatar 3, but who knows? James Cameron knows, but he's not talking. It's a bummer. It really is. And it's a bummer that all of these projects have to be put on the back burner for stupid greed reasons. But here we are. All I know is that by the time part 5 comes out, your daughter's going to be 8 years old. So my plan is I'm going to make her into the biggest Avatar fan ever. I'm going to buy her all kinds of Avatar toys and stuff. So by the time part 5 is out, she's going to be like, Dad, you have to take me to go see Avatar 5, The Watery Way Returns, part 1 of 6.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because she will be 8, which means like at some point, probably around 5 or 6. Because I'm jonesing to take her to Disney like already, right? And like Avatar World in Disney is amazing. Like it is. You haven't been, I don't think, but it is. I don't like like I said, I don't even like the movies that I was like, I want to go to Avatar Land and see the Mogwagwa, whatever they're called. Like I was like, it's really cool. Like it's a really cool experience. And so let's say, we go when she's 5 or 6 or whatever. Is it exposed? And plus there'll be other movies and they'll come out and she'll probably be like, I want to watch, like at some point she probably will want to see Avatar. If it's the big movie, kids, it's colorful. So I'll probably have to go see the movie, reluctantly go, and she might love it, and I'll just be like, I'll have to live with it. At least they're short movies.
Yeah, you'll be in and out. And that's exactly what happened to me, right? When I was 5, my mom took me to Disney World. I saw Darth Vader. I was like, I don't know who that is, but he freaks me out and intrigues me. And that was how I learned what a Star Wars is.
And she hated Star Wars so much. Like it's her in Star Wars as me and Avatar. That's a fun fact. No, I'm just joking. Look, it also kind of bothers me that like we waited 10 years, 12 years. How long between the first
13.
one and the second one? 13. Oh my God, I'm so old. 13 years. I remember like it was yesterday watching the first one. I did not enjoy my experience, but it's 13 years between them. It's like just like, and the thing is, somehow the second one made a boatload of money. Like, isn't it like this second highest grossing movie of all time or something? Maybe third.
It's in the top 3 now. Yeah,
it's somewhere. It's freaking massive. Nobody talking about it. Like it's Spider-Verse 2, the new Spider-Verse movie. No one is talking about this movie online. Everyone's just like, I liked it, and then that's it. I'm like, well, aren't you going to say spoilers? I liked it, James. All right. Why? Because I did. And Avatar 2 feels the same way, where they're like, I saw the movie once. 1 times like 100, because there's no way everyone just saw this movie once, but everyone seemed to really enjoy Avatar 2. Like, I don't think I ever talked to one person who didn't like Avatar 2. And it's just like the momentum is there, man. Just knock the next one out of the park. And they're like, we're good. We're good. Wait, we know you're chomping at the bit for the next one. My fear, though, is by the time the last one comes out, it might be too dated by then. I could be wrong. You think that 13 years between 1 and 2 would make it dated, but although, you know what, though, as I'm rambling, I think the one thing, though, is 13 years, it goes from you waited too long to, nostalgia.
Right. There's that sweet spot, and maybe they found it, but the gaps are still big, because you have a 13-year gap, and now we're going to have a 3-year gap, then a 4-year gap, then a 2-year gap. I'm
good with 3 years, to be honest.
I don't know, maybe. I feel like 3 years is fine. I always felt like these 4 movies were going to be very, one leads to the other, leads to the other. They're not, just here's a sequel. It's like, no, here's the next chapter. So it feels a bit long for that, but we did it for the prequels. So
yeah, we'll see how it goes. I don't know. Avatar. It's such a fascinating franchise, just in every way, shape. Like Avatar is just a mind-blowingly fascinating franchise that I can't get enough of. I just like I don't even like it. I'm just like you're fascinating. Takes forever. And I will say, we went up for your birthday on Friday.
yeah,
Went to a restaurant right by my house. Short little venture for me to get there.
you just
And
rolled out of bed and you landed
rolled,
in the restaurant.
It was in my kitchen. And so we get there, and your friend Ryan J. Whitehead sits basically across from me, and you do Infinity Rewatch with him. And he mentioned, he's like, 3D didn't make Avatar. The story made it amazing. And I kept my mouth shut. And I was like, I will say this about Avatar, and I always have. Because I love 3D, I love virtual reality, I love augmented reality, like I love all of that stuff, like to death. Like I love it. Like I still have cardboard 3D or VR goggles because I just love VR. I'm not going to spend the money on the Apple one. I would if I was loaded, but I'm not going to. But I thought the 3D in Avatar was friggin' phenomenal. Since then, I've only really seen quality 3D in Jackass 3D, where they use the Avatar cameras, and in Transformers 3, the opening scene of Transformers 3, where they use the Avatar cameras. Those are the 3 times. I mean, there's been like How to Train Your Dragon and A Christmas Carol. I find like animated films, I think, are a little bit stronger with it, but for live action, although Transformers is that really live action, but Avatar's 3D for me was phenomenal because it's a gimmick of it. It wasn't a gimmick though. He didn't use it as a gimmick. It wasn't like Tim Allen, Tim the Toolman Taylor in the 90s when you got 3D glasses with your Butterfinger or whatever it was, throwing a log in your face.
Yeah.
Old people will get that reference. This was like he used it for depth, so you felt like you were in the environment. So like it was like, what's his name? Sully, Mully. He's here, and the background is like 4,000 feet away, and you felt that. That's what it was, and that to me was the best 3D experience that I've ever had in the movie theater. And I do love 3D. So as much as I the story was like what's going on, I did love that aspect of it.
Well, I'm glad that was enjoyable. That was the least favorite part for me, was the 3D, because I'm the opposite. I don't want glasses on top of my glasses. I don't want dark tints all over my colorful movie.
But they don't make it dark.
They make it pretty dark. I don't know. I haven't been to a 3D one in a while. Maybe they changed what the glasses
Avatar 3D was ingenious. It was just it's just depth. But people want the gimmick. Like Jackass 3D, they had a rocket launcher or a bazooka, and they shot a dildo at the camera, and you flinched in the theater. You flinched because it was wild. Anyway, let's move on to our final topic of the day: the new DC. Hold on, the new DCU. Andrew Fantasia, James Gunn was on the Michael Rosenbaum podcast today. Came out today. I'm sure he didn't record it today, but it came out today. I listened to a chunk of it, not all of it yet, but I heard the DC stuff and I heard some other stuff. It's a good conversation. James Gunn is great because he's just like, I'm going to tell you how it is, and that's it. Like he pulls no punches.
Yeah,
he's very open and honest. Obviously, he can't divulge all the information he wants to right now, or he can right now, but he goes pretty deep into it. So I suggest for anybody who hasn't heard that, you should definitely check that out. It is great. But it's new DCU. And in this, Andrew, he says Blue Beetle is definitely, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm pretty sure he says something close to this, definitely the first new DCU character that we get. Superman Legacy is the first DCU film that we get. And reports are indicating that in Superman Legacy, we're going to get the Authority in it. So, and that's going to be the second DCU film that we get. But I found very intriguing what he said about Blue Beetle being the first character that we meet. And it kind of, I'm thinking they could be utilized, because the movie looks like this a little bit, but they could be using Blue Beetle as like their Iron Man. Like Iron Man 1 was the beginning of the MCU because of the post-credit scene, but it's completely separate from everything, has nothing to do with anything else, right? It's like, this is the movie. I mean, obviously, they years later with Spider-Man, they connected things together. But back when we watched it, it was just Iron Man. It wasn't an MCU. So I'm thinking maybe they're doing something similar with Blue Beetle, where they have this Blue Beetle and they're like, we're going to start here. And maybe they add a post-credit scene to it. Or maybe they don't worry about it. They're just like, Blue Beetle exists. That is our Blue Beetle going forward. If we make a sequel, we'll make a sequel. If we don't, we don't. But that movie does exist for real. And this character will be integrated somehow with Superman, Batman, Authority, and all the other fun stuff. So I don't know if you heard the interview at all, but what do you think of that?
I didn't, but that's the best movie news I've heard so far here. That's great, because this Blue Beetle character and the actors playing him and the world they're building, like, that sounded like so much fun. That trailer sounded great. You and I have both been looking forward to this movie for a while. So it's nice to know that, because it's been coming out, or rather it is coming out at this weird transitionary period. So it's nice to know that James Gunn says, I see you, I know you exist, and I'm not letting you just fade away and become another movie like Shazam 2. You're like, he's going to let that be a part of his sandbox. And I think that's beautiful, because that gives it, obviously a movie has merit whether or not it's part of a cinematic universe, but that at least gives it hope that it will have a life beyond this one movie, right? That this is not just a thing that Zaslav let happen because it was too far gone to cancel or whatever. But clearly nothing's too far gone for him to cancel.
or Disney now.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not something that they just said, okay, it's done, put it out, and then whatever, we never have to speak of it again. It's going to have a life. And for kids who watch this movie and who grow up watching this iteration of Blue Beetle, they're going to get to see that life come to fruition. They're going to get to have that Blue Beetle, maybe not like, a trilogy of them, whatever, who knows, fingers crossed, but like, they're at least going to have that character grow up alongside them, which is important for young fans.
I'm wondering if, like, sorry, go on.
No, that's pretty much it. I was just going to say the old fogies behind the desks don't understand that, because they haven't been young ever.
I thought you were wrapping up. It'll be like intriguing to see if Blue Beetle hits it off like Iron Man. I don't think he has to hit it off exactly like as big as Iron Man, but like on some smaller scale. Like, if you could guarantee fans are going to like it, like, but it does speak volumes, because we all know Batgirl was obviously, I was very much looking forward to Batgirl, and it got canceled, and they said it was unsavable or whatever. But the difference between that movie and this movie was they both started as HBO Max movies, but
Right.
Blue Beetle early on, before Zaslav and all that, got bumped to theatrical. So there was something more there, whereas Batgirl was never supposed to be theatrical. It was always made for TV. And so when they say on like they couldn't save it, I kind of buy that, in the way that it probably would have cost way more in reshoots to make it a theatrical movie than just scrap it. And it sucks, but I think it's true. And I think the cast was probably like the cast sounded perfect. Everything sounded perfect about it, but it's like, if you're not gonna have quality going forward, what's the point? Especially like now when you have Gunn and Safran there now, if you're not gonna, like, Shazam was obviously in the bag. Black Adam was in the bag. Aquaman 2, which sounds like it's a disaster of a movie.
I forgot that's even coming out.
I own Aquaman 1, and that's a disaster of a movie. So I can only imagine what 2 is. And then you have that, and it's like, at some point they have to reel in and say, like, no, these are the movies we're making. You guys had your chance, like, and I love the Snyder films to death. Man of Steel, I think I was the first one, and there's actually videos. If you go back in time, I get lambasted to buy everybody on this channel and on Den of Nerds back then for liking those movies. Like, now it's like hip to like them, but back like 5 years ago when I did those videos, everybody came after me for liking them. Like, you got a bad taste in movies. I'm like, oh, whatever. So I'm a big Snyder fan, but it's time to move on. The movies didn't do well. It is what it is. People didn't. I do believe Man of Steel, as much as I think it's one of the best comic book movies. I won't say it's the best, but I'm going to go with one of the best for argument's sake. Even though I believe that it's not the movie you use to start your universe. It's not, especially after Marvel already beat you to the punch on a cinematic universe, which leads me to another point, Andrew. How the hell did Marvel beat DC to the multiverse? Like DC had it. Like DC, like they literally had it in their second movie. In their second movie, they're like, "This is the multiverse," and they're like, "We can't get this." Is how the hell did that happen?
I don't know. Like DC has always been synonymous with the word multiverse for me. That's where I first heard it, was through DC stuff. And they just, I mean, the DC movie franchise, the one that Snyder started, really couldn't find its footing, even though I would say I liked more than half of what they made. I really liked Wonder Woman. I really liked Aquaman. I really liked Shazam. So there's, even though there's a lot to love, like they just couldn't find their identity, I guess. And with multiverse being a big part of the identity, I feel like it's something you would have to introduce late in the game anyway, right? There's no novelty to seeing a second version of the Flash if you're not already invested in a first version of the Flash. So I get why they didn't get around to it, but it's just a shame that it's their bread and butter, and Marvel is kind of like, hey, it doesn't look like you're using that.
Yeah. Like people are already sick of the multiverse, and DC's is coming out. Hopefully, Michael Keaton saves the day. The young fans don't seem to want Michael Keaton at all. It's like,
really?
Yeah, they're like, who cares about that old guy? I'm like, oh. They cared about Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and suddenly, like, you're too hip for Michael Keaton now. Apparently, I'm looking forward to it. I think Ben Affleck's still my favorite Batman, and Michael Keaton's, but Michael Keaton, like, that's not to say anything against Michael Keaton, but he's my childhood. No, Adam West is my childhood Batman. Michael Keaton is like Michael Keaton Batman always it has such a strange place in my heart, because I grew up with Adam West and with was it Justice Friends, like the Justice League cartoons and Batman cartoons, which was mostly like Adam West voicing it, and people like Adam West. And then when Michael Keaton came, I remember my mom told me he's going to be wearing all black. And I was like, what? And she's like, and he's bulletproof. I'm like, what is happening? That's not Batman. Not in a bad way. I'm like, that's crazy. And then I saw it, and I thought the rubber suit looked amazing. And I got his action figure. I still have it, some without a cape. But the capes for all my figures are gone. But I got that. I loved that. And but I never liked Michael Keaton as much as I liked Adam West when I was a kid. Because I was a kid, and Michael Keaton's not fun. Like, he's right. Very like a Batman. Yeah. Jack Nicholson blew my mind as a kid, though, by the way. Jack Nicholson I actually raised money to buy the Joker toy that squirted water out of his flower, because I thought he was the coolest thing ever. But as I grow up, like, you grow up with it after that, because I was 8 years old when that movie came. So, as time went on, you start to appreciate it more and more. And now it's one of the movies that I throw on. Like, the first Batman's one that I just throw on, and I'm like, I love this movie.
Right. See, my Batman upbringing was a little different. I was a Kevin Conroy guy. I was all about the animated series. I've been watching that since, like, some of my earliest memories, I think, were watching that as like one of the first cartoons I would watch. And the first two movies, the Keaton movies, I knew they existed. I remember the Happy Meal toys of the Penguin with his duck or whatever. So
McDonald's was mad at those.
Yeah. So they were around me, and I knew that they were a thing. And I watched the first one, like, on somebody's VHS. Like, we didn't own it. I think maybe my dad's girlfriend at the time owned it or something. So it was, those two movies were this, like, mysterious thing that I saw vaguely, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's Batman too. But, like, that's what the grown-ups watch for Batman. And then I remember Batman Forever coming out, and all the kids in my school were excited for it. But because I didn't really have the first two movies as part of growing up, I wasn't that excited for it. But I was just like, hey, there's a Batman Forever coloring an activity book. I want that, right? So it was happening sort of adjacent to me while I was living my Kevin Conroy dream off to the side. But Keaton's look has always been my favorite look for Batman. I would have been right there with you getting that toy if I was that age, because that look with the black and yellow.
Best emblem. Yeah, the best emblem by far in that first movie, I think. The second movie has my favorite teaser poster, and the new Ghostbusters one reminded me of it, because the Batman Returns teaser was the Batman logo, like 3D logo in snow, and like kind of snow kind of brushing off. And look it up, because it's my favorite Batman teaser poster by far. The first poster was just the Batman logo, like the yellow logo is freaking brilliant, but that teaser poster, I just absolutely love that one. And it's so forgotten too. But yeah, so when I saw the Ghostbuster one, the Ghostbuster one's ice and that one was snow, but it took me back to that, where I'm like, I freaking love that Batman Returns poster. It was great. Batman Returns movie was a choice, though. It's very much a choice. It's kind of like Tim Burton went to Tim Burton in Batman Returns, and Joel Schumacher went to Joel Schumacher in Batman and Robin. It's kind of like they needed someone to just say, hey, reel it in a bit, buddy.
Take it in just a tiny bit.
Yeah. But Batman Returns is not like a classic, and I've seen like young 20-year-olds who grew up with Batman and Robin who love Batman and Robin. They're like, this movie's great. I'm like, it's not. I watch it all the time. I own it. I love Schwarzenegger. I do own it. I bought all four of them I have all four of them on VHS, and then I got all four of them on digital for how much was it? Was it $12.99 or $9.99 or $7.99 for the four of them? And I watch Batman and Robin a lot because it is ridiculous. And it does, and I remember when I saw it in the theater. I saw it twice in the theater because I'm a moron, but it was because it reminded me more of Adam West, like of the Batman I grew up with. And I really kind of appreciated that aspect of it. And I don't know if you can, like, I don't know if I could like debate with you why you should like it, right? Like I couldn't do that. But personally, when I watched, I was like, this reminds me of what I watched as a kid, and I was kind of okay with it.
I mean, it is what it is.
It is what terrible. It is. I'm not saying it's not terrible, Andrew. It's terrible.
No, but it's like the train wreck you can't look away from.
Yes.
And I'm always going to remember it as that be all end all of 90s commercial blockbusters and what they represented and how they worked. So it's always going to have a place in my heart, I think. And I totally get it that there's these kids who grew up with that as their Batman movie, and that's awesome. I love that they can just keep revisiting that and being like, nah, man, what are you talking about? This is the Batman I grew up with. A disturbing fact that I just realized last week, because last week I watched Batman Returns for the first time in many years, probably since high school.
Wow.
When the movie starts, the Penguin being born, right? Penguin's born.
Pee-wee.
And then 33 years later, the rest of the movie takes place, which means, James, you and I are both older than the Penguin.
Okay, sure. Why do you have to bring this show on a downer? Like, we're wrapping up, and you got to bring us down. That's wild. That's 33 years later. You know what? I just watched that movie. I watched it early November when you're too early to watch Christmas movies. I was like, I'm gonna watch Batman Returns and like Gremlins and stuff stuff that like it's Christmas but it's not Christmas. You know, right? Hallmark. I watched those. I'm like, yeah, this is kind of like faking me in the movie. I did that once when I went to Vancouver years ago, and on the plane ride home, it was November like 2nd or 3rd or so, maybe it was somewhere early November. And I put on Gremlins, not because it was Christmas, just because I was like, well, Gremlins is on the plane. I'm going to watch Gremlins. And I started watching it. And when I finished, I was like, I am in the Christmas spirit. It was way too early, but I was like, I am all in on Christmas. Gremlins is also a fantastic movie. don't sleep on Gremlins. Anyway, let's wrap it up. James Gunn, new DCU plans. Blue Beetle is kicking it off, but Superman Legacy is the first full DCU film. I think maybe also what he means is Blue Beetle is a movie. Everything in it's canon to the new DCU, but Superman Legacy is going to really be like, this is where everything starts to connect. So don't look for Easter eggs in Blue Beetle, but look for Easter eggs in Superman Legacy. Andrew, you've got a couple of books. You've got 3 books, actually, but you only want to talk about 2 of them. Why don't you plug your books away?
That's right. There are no superheroes in them, but there is magic, and I guess that kind of counts. Doctor Strange uses magic. So there you go. This is called We Were Wizards. It's one of 2 fantasy books. This is the other one right here. These are my life's work, and they are now available on Amazon.com.
And there, how many of those books in total will there be?
20.
And when can we expect the next one?
I wish I could tell you. I really wish I could tell you. I wish I had something that concrete, but they are very far along. Let me put it that way. I just have to.
Sounding a lot like Star Wars right now.
I know, right? I'm just trying to hide the fact that I can't pay my writers, so I'm just going to give you some release date eye candy to distract you. But yeah, We Were Wizards. It's about wizards, obviously, and there's lots of fun to be had. The purple one is the first one, followed by the silver one.
Which is number 11.
Which is number 11, but trust me, it all works out. Don't think about it too hard. It goes 1, 11 to 12. No big deal.
Okay, we're gonna hold our breath for the next one.
Do it. Oh, it's out.
Can't do it. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for watching. He's Andrew. I'm James. Give us a like and a subscribe. And until next time, may you be the master of your own universe.